Well, guys, I don't know. It's hot outside. What do you what are your thoughts, Brandon? Is this the hottest day of your life?
No.
Brandon,
Uh,
tell me about. Okay, you're from Arizona, Brandon. Tell me about the hottest day of your life.
okay, so
Do you
it
know
was
it?
this. I don't know the specific day, but I do remember
What's the exact day?
because okay, they advise you to stay inside a lot in Arizona during summer months. Like whenever you turn on the morning local news, they're always like, "Oh, like you're gonna experience like a heavy weather or like a heat advisory. Like stay inside. It's extreme. If you're outside, make sure you're drinking water as like much as you can." And essentially, like the hottest I remember temperature wise it being was 125 or 128, somewhere in that Fahrenheit, and it
Uh
was
huh.
brutal. Like you'd go
Mm.
outside and it would be scalding. Like you couldn't walk on the pool deck out back without like it dripping.
Fire on
And
the
so
poop deck.
no, I mean, and when you walk on like concrete, like it would just be a chore to run out to throw the trash out, you know. So
Yeah,
I'd be like,
you're
ow, ow,
risking
ow,
your
ow,
life.
ow, ow, ow. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, when I was in high school and I worked at Harkins, like I worked in an air conditioned environment, but you'd walk outside and your body would be drained of all the water. I remember driving to work and having to wear gloves. So, because I would burn my hand on the steering wheel, even if it had a cover on, just because of how hot it was. Even if you had like a one of the like what are like the windshield like you put like
Like the
screen
windshield
Oh,
covers.
covers, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Sun
I
covers,
never
whatever.
got those.
Yeah.
I've seen some
Uh
funny ones of those.
I have a Star Wars one. Well, I
Don't
used
you have
to.
the Millennium Falcon cockpit?
I used to, but it got destroyed by the sun when I went back to Arizona. So,
Yeah.
Oh, it must have been sun bleached.
yeah, it was pretty bad. I would say.
Wow. Well, that's crazy. Chris, how hot does it get in Hong Kong?
It's not like it's a different kind of hot than like say California or Arizona because the big difference maker is the increased humidity. It's the humidity that kills in Hong Kong. The so like the temperature itself doesn't rise to quite the same levels as it does here, but the humidity makes it feel like it's like much hotter than like you would think. And you know, because of the humidity, like the and this is why I tend to prefer say like California summers in comparison to Hong Kong summers is that even though California summers are technically hotter, California summers aren't humid or
It's
not
dry heat.
that humid. It's dry
Yeah.
heat, which I know some people prefer the humid heat. But for me, like I hate sweating, you know, and like when I go out in the summer, you know, I walk to the bus stop to go hang out with my friends and whatever. And
Yeah.
like I wait at the bus stop, I'm already drenched, you know, so like I'm not kidding, like oftentimes I would bring like a spare t-shirt with me to change like once I get to wherever my friends and I are, just because it gets so like I get so sweaty because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's as hot as it gets in Hong Kong. Yeah. How about in
Okay.
Utah? I don't. I mean, does it get super hot there?
It gets pretty hot. It okay. I'm a prefer of a dry heat more than a humid heat. There's nothing better than taking a cold shower. Uh, After dry heat, like I feel like that's way better than humid because like you're already wet when you take humid, so you're just like or wet, and then when you come out of the shower, you're like you're still humid, but you're drying. It's still humid, so you're drying off. You're still like the water isn't really going away. But I took a cold shower today. Whew, felt amazing, bro.
Yeah.
Um, but that's why that's why we're doing this episode of Stacked. Welcome back to Stacked, everybody. Um, it is fucking hot outside. It is. We're going through one of the biggest heat waves in LA in recent memory. It's getting up to like 108 degrees down here in SoCal. Um,
I think the triple
and
digits are behind us for the rest of the year.
I think so too. I think we're recording on the
Yeah.
last day of this heat wave, but it's been rough. It's been rough. Nights where I couldn't sleep because it was so hot, um, and just going out, doing things and just feeling miserable in the day. Um, Thankfully, our apartments have a pool that I've been taking advantage of this week, getting some of that cold pool water. Very nice. Um, But we all came together and we thought it would be a fun topic because I feel like there's a couple of there's a good few movies that like sort of use hot as like a feeling to emit, or another definition. You know, I think Chris sort of came up with this topic. Chris, do you want to sort of explain what you mean by when you pitched this to us?
Well, I guess like the whole, I mean, of course, obviously the idea behind this was just because of the heat wave that we're in. So we're like, okay, hot movies, like let's just see what happens. And you know, I'm always a big fan of the idea of like being given the prompt and allowing yourself to kind of interpret it as you wish and pick your movies on your own volition.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to like kind of explore like, okay, like when you say hot, like what does that mean? Like can you interpret that in different ways, or you can interpret that quite literally? You know, so I bet there's gonna be, I feel like we will have like a pretty consistent like selection, but I feel like the meanings of hot might transition slightly, but I don't think we're gonna do anything too outlandish, if you will. But I'm excited. I right before we started recording, I actually said this is actually one of the most proud stacks I've ever made because I think I picked up some pretty fire movies. You know what I mean?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Brandon, what about you, dude? What are you thinking?
About hot?
You like hot stuff?
I do. I like hot Cheetos.
Yeah.
I
You're
I
from Arizona. You like hot
I
Cheetos?
enjoy the
What else?
heat. I prefer it to the cold, which is why I live in the West Coast. You know, I can handle the heat. Um, for hot movies, I wanted to interpret this pretty clearly, whether that hotness derives from the temperature in the room or outside, or if it's like the situation making things all sweaty and gross. I kind of like that. Uh, and also like it could convey a sense of anger because hotness, like when people get hot, people get angry. As I think, I don't think we can choose it, but Do the Right Thing from 1989.
Yeah.
You know, the anger is like
Mhm.
brought through the characters because of like the heat of New York. You know,
Right.
and I feel like that is something a lot of people are just angry right now for no reason. You can tell by like because they're
Oh.
like, I'm not used to this heat. You know, for me, I'm like
I
I'm used to it. So
Yeah, I've been theorizing with my girlfriend just like I think traffic is worse during the heat because people are angrier and they want to get home faster, which leads them to drive dumber, and there's more accidents and there's more traffic. Have you guys noticed that when you're driving on the freeways recently? It's been
yeah,
awful. It's been so awful. At least just to like on the 91, just going to work for me. It's been crazy, and I can tell that like people are getting angry. You know.
Yeah. You know,
Um,
maybe that's why people tend to be like so much more happy during like Christmas time on top of like the festivities, but like maybe the coldness at the time, you know, maybe it just mellows everyone out a little bit.
well, I think it's easier to seek warmth than to seek
Mm,
like cooling off. You know. I don't know.
right.
And I think I think so. I think you're right, Chris. It's like, you know, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is sure delightful. You know what I'm saying? Some people are relieved to be out in the cold and to seek warmth. um, so yeah, that's what we're doing with hot movies this week.
we're recording an
Apologies.
episode of Hot Ones right now. Actually,
Oh, we should. Oh, bro, we should have. We don't need to. We don't need the wings. We already have just the temperature. You know. Um, apologies if you guys hear my fan in the background. Usually I have it off, but I needed it this episode. I absolutely needed it. So if you guys hear fans and stuff, just please keep in mind, we are not professionals. We don't have a AC, you know, studio. We're recording from our rooms in our apartments with terrible AC. So we're doing our best, but we're gonna give you a damn good episode this week. But before we get into our movies and what we're talking about, let's run over the rules of the show. Once a week, we set a topic or theme and go our separate ways to construct our own 3-film stack. Then after a week, we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks 1 film at a time. Then at the end of the show, we will mix and match our 9 films to make the ultimate decision what quintessential 3-film stack we are chipping out of this chip-inevitable, choppable video store. See, the heat's already getting to me. Whatever. Brandon, guess what, buddy? You're first. What's your first hot movie?
I'm gonna pick a war movie. I'm picking 1989's Born on the 4th of July.
Oh, it's
Born on the 4th
love
of July.
it's a Tom. This is a Tom Cruise movie, isn't it?
It is. It's a Tom
Yeah.
Cruise movie.
The fucker
All right.
with that receding hairline.
Yes. So this movie follows it's based on a true story. It's about or I think he's pelagic. Yeah. I don't remember. He's paralyzed from the waist down after Vietnam, but it shows his like initial love for like and kind of blindness to the US and the US military by him going into war and being like excited for it and then being like horrified by it. But because I think the character was born on the 4th of July, hence the title. It's like always hot, and you see this guy's life through many different stages. So like the first summer is like the 1950s, and it's kind of like this warmer but like kind of tepid summer that you're used to remember when you were a kid. And
Yeah.
as the film progresses and things get more and more intense, like the heat starts to bear down on the characters as the world gets hotter with every, yearly cycle, but also because, his life is becoming more and more sweaty. Like he may live in New York, like upstate New York, but
Yeah.
it's still like burning hot, when he's in a packed hospital recovering from his his tour in Vietnam. He is like sweating all over the place. Like it's crowded. It's like kind of disgusting and upsetting, the conditions that he's forced to go through. And not only that, there's a scene or two where he's in Vietnam and it is like absolutely brutal. Everything's on fire, exploding. Like the camera is tinted like this bright reddish orange throughout most of the movie. And it's very unsettling and unnatural, but that is like I think the perspective a lot of vets have. And then he even goes to like Mexico and like in the movie, where he's kind of like distanced from his family, and he is like burning up there because it's like the town he's in doesn't really have AC. He's just drinking with Willem Dafoe, who's crazy as hell, and people are just angry, And I think this movie does a great job at exemplifying not only the heat of the environment, but the heat of the situation and how it makes people feel. Another one of my movies does that too, but I feel like this one does it historically well given its connection to the Vietnam War.
Yeah, dude. I remember sort of going in and out of when you were watching this at home. I remember it being a hot day when you were watching this. You were, you were cuddled up on the floor, watching this from the TV.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to experience enough of it to really, give my full thoughts on it. What I will say is there's one thing about this movie that bothered me a lot. One particular scene, I think it haunted me and creeped me out. Tom Cruise goes to this burger place Born on the 4th of July.
Shut
and
up.
this is just sickening. This is just sickening what they do. Listen to this, Chris. It made me scream.
It did make him scream. He said, "Rewind the TV."
I had to make him rewind so I could see this again. So this burger place his friend owns it, right?
Yeah, his friend's trying to get him a job after he gets back from the war, and he thinks his
to save money on ground beef, what he does is he cuts the center out of the burger patties so they look like donuts, and it disgusted. It disgusted what he was doing.
Here's a
It
picture.
disgusted me what they look
Here's a
like.
picture. No, I'm not showing you because I don't want
I'm-
to discuss it.
Yeah, I'm not putting that up. If you want to look at this and be disgusted, go out on your own to find it. I'm not showing that shit. It's awful. Horrible. And I think Oliver Stone, just that image enough just tells us what he wants to say about America during that time,
I just think it's like the sizzling of like the American attitude regarding Vietnam and how it like bubbled to anger and boiling point.
Right. Yeah.
The
Bubbling.
burger is
boiling.
just an exemplification of that.
It is, and you can feel the heatness of the grill when they're being grilled in that scene. So, I'll give you that for it being a hot movie. Chris, have you heard of this movie? Oh, one thing I will say before you talk about that. Sorry, I want one more thing. Tom Cruise is one of the sweatiest actors alive, so I commend you for picking one of his movies. That
I didn't even realize
sweaty. That. He's a sweaty guy, isn't he? Think about him. He's always sweating. Top Gun, this movie. He is just a sweaty mess. He's always sweating. All right, Chris, go ahead.
So I have not seen this movie. I've heard about this movie kind of just like in passing, just because Tom Cruise is in it. Yeah, I've been interested to see this because like the idea of like Tom Cruise starring in such a like outwardly like anti-war, almost in a weird way anti-American film is really fascinating, especially like considering like the title is called Born on the 4th of July. That's very few things are more American than that. I don't know, maybe it was the poster that turned me off. I'm like actively seeking it out just because it's a little, I don't know, without the context that this is an anti-war film, this isn't exactly my cup of tea. But I am interested. I really like this image actually they have of him on Letterboxd. He looks like a disheveled mess.
He is. It's one of the few movies he was nominated for an Oscar for.
Right, yeah. But yeah, this is really interesting. I think an anti-war an anti-war film would be a really interesting way to like to go about with this hot movies like prompt that we have. Yeah, I think this can work and I approve.
Yeah, good fucking pick, Brandon. Good pick. All right, Chris, what is your first hot movie?
All right, so I'm gonna start with a movie that I actually saw earlier this year in the theater. This was the first movie that came to mind when we actually picked this topic, and I finally sat down and started making my list. There are many things you could describe on this planet as hot. The deserts of Death Valley, the global warming across our planet, Yo Mama.
What?
But one thing that's even hotter than anything that I can think of on this planet is lava. Ethan, I know you adored this movie just like me. It's a documentary directed by Sarah Dosa called Fire of Love.
Double stack. Oh!
I had a feeling you would pick this one. But I knew I wanted to pick it just in case because this blew me away. It really has stuck with me. Like, because I haven't seen a doc like this before, and it really has stuck with me. Ethan, I'll make sure to save you some stuff to say, but for anyone who doesn't know, Fire of Love follows this couple. I might butcher their names, but Katya and Maurice. Is that how I'm pronouncing it?
Yeah. Katya and
yeah.
Maurice.
Yeah, Kraft.
Croft. Yeah. Couple of French
folks. But yeah, so they are married volcanologists. So let me just quickly describe what these two do for a living. When they aren't delivering lectures at esteemed universities around the world, they travel the planet together in search of volcanic eruptions, and they would study that phenomenon firsthand. And when I say study the phenomenon firsthand, I know it's easy to imagine to think like, okay, maybe they deployed some drones, they got a helicopter, some cameras for a long lens. No, not at all. They are literally on the volcano as it's erupting. They're there in the suits, everything. Yeah, they were there right in the danger zone with the fire, ash, and literally like walls of lava, literally just maybe 5 feet away from them, like imminent death, like right there, and they are just standing there going, whoa. These guys are braver than anything I can even imagine. So when I picked this movie for quote-unquote hot movies, of course the lava is the obvious thing, but I'm also talking about I'm also talking about the passion shared between these two people and the devotion that they have to their work, their craft, and most importantly to each other. And they would photograph these volcanoes and film them. and giving us, like, without even exaggerating, the most close up and authentic imagery of volcanoes that humans have ever produced. At least as far as I know, I don't exactly see volcanoes all that often. But it's really a sight to see. I can't really put it into words. You do really have to see it to believe it. Unfortunately, Katya and Maurice did lose their lives in Japan during a volcanic eruption on Mount Unzen in 1991. However, they left behind an incredible legacy that has really enriched the scientific community and really furthered our knowledge of the natural world. And, like, I just gotta say, like, science through cinema, like, look me in the eye and tell me that's not kind of hot. Like, I don't know. Ethan, what do you have a lot? I mean, assuming we go by the letterbox criteria, you like this movie more than me. What do you think?
I, first of all, I gotta say I love volcanoes. I think they are just the most insanely sublime things to come from our planet. Just this mass, like, can kill you in an instant power that comes from within our Earth. They still don't know why volcanoes happen. Why, why they pop up where they do, there's still so much we have to learn about volcanoes. There's still so much mystery, even though we know a lot more thanks to technology. And it is just, this movie is so special. Okay, I went back and forth between another documentary and this one. Werner Herzog's Into the Inferno, which I think, honestly, that one gives a bit more close-up look to the lava, so that's why I was arguing, like, okay, it's a hot movie, like, you're in the lava, you're seeing it, it's mesmerizing, but I had to pick this one because it is just, this film does such an amazing job at paralleling that the power, the physical power of the volcanoes can only be matched by the emotional power of love. Like, two of the strongest forces, I would argue, in our known universe. The physicality of volcanoes and the emotional power of love. And it is just incredible that both of them were able to intersect in the story between these two volcanologists, and how they risked their lives for their passion, and how they shared that passion with each other and were able to have such a perfect life together all the way into the end. They always said, they're like, this is the only way we ever want to die. We would rather have a short and exciting life than a long and drawn out and boring one. This is how they wanted to go out. But they weren't asking to die. They were just like, we're gonna do this thing we love, and if it kills us, that's okay. And it's such a poetic film, such a poetic story. You feel the fire of their love, fire of love, and you feel the heat and fire of the volcanoes they're studying. Fantastic film, one of my favorites of this year, easily in my top 10. It was also just an interesting thing to learn about volcanoes, is that it is actually 100 times safer to walk into a volcano that's erupting with, like, lava and spitting lava everywhere than a volcano that's just spitting sheer ash. Like, apparently, they differentiate it in the movies where it's like, there's red eruptions, which is when, it's spitting lava and stuff like that, or it's a gray eruption where it's just spitting clouds of ash and it covers everything. I'm thinking of, like, the Mount St. Helens eruption, in Oregon, that happened in the 80s. That covered the entire state in like 6 feet of ash or something like that. 2 to 6, I don't remember what it was. And that killed, like, many volcanologists as well. That is the most deadly, but the red ones, apparently you can just traverse, because once the lava shoots out and it makes a stream, like, it's not gonna spread like ash. It's just gonna go along that stream, and you can just walk along it. And in the film, like, you get to see them burning alive, while they're, like, not literally, they are just drenched in sweat, and, like, you can see their skins are burned by just being around the heat, wearing those metal suits, you know. It's also a fantastic poster. If you look at the Letterboxd poster, I love it.
Yeah,
It's them
it's
just
gorgeous.
walking towards this giant wall of lava, because that's not edited. That's something they actually did. Beautiful fucking film, hot ass movie. The love is hot, the fire is hot, the volcanoes, that's hot. Will Smith, tell him. All right, thank you, Will Smith. I'm gonna put in the that's hot. Brandon, why haven't you seen this movie yet, you fool?
I've been busy.
You busy?
Yeah.
You're busy. You're busy.
I mean, also, like, you know, I'm not the biggest documentary hound in the world. I like documentaries, but I'm not like you guys. Just...
Doc, I'm a real dog hound. Oh, throw that shit on. More Herzog, Ken Burns. Oh.
They go. No, I love Ken Burns. He goes.
Throwing your shit.
He goes. Row. No, but
Civil War. Let's go.
I just haven't seen it. I mean, it looks very nice, I guess, but I just have one question.
What?
Is the volcano like a character in their love story?
You know, the Volcanoes, they kind of play like a character.
In a weird way, yeah.
In a weird way, it kind of plays a character, this love story. Good call, bro.
Thank you.
Nice.
I'm excited. I'll see it eventually when it comes to home video.
It's National Geographic, so it's gonna come to Disney Plus, right?
Probably, and I imagine it's going to
In
be up
time,
for
probably.
probably by the end of the year because it's probably going to be up for best doc. I can imagine at the Oscars.
Oh, please! I hope so. I want to buy this on Blu-ray. I love this movie so much.
Well, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's go into the second round here because that was a double stack. Brandon, what's your second pick,
I'm
boy?
picking 2017's Detroit by Catherine Bigelow.
What? Detroit?
Yeah.
Is it hot in Detroit? I don't know if it's hot. Is it hot there?
Yes, in this moment, it's this. Okay, so I first went hot because of war. Now I'm going hot because of race.
Hot race.
Hot race. Hot rain. No. So this movie basically follows it's like during the civil rights movement, and these people are unfairly searched by the police of Detroit. So you have this conflict all taking place once again during the month of July. So much like my first pick, the Born on the 4th of July, we got a July movie. Honestly, people are like, August is like the hottest month of the year. I disagree. July has always been the hottest month of the year. Anyway, there is something about people at night being super stressed out together, forced to be interrogated against their will, searched, stripped bare of like their clothing and stuff like that. It is awful. It is disgusting. It is horrible. And in the month of July, it is hot, and you really feel that tension and that heat between the characters, because of the direction by Bigelow, because of the way she shoots the film. The characters are always either nervous, sweating, or they're like holding back like this quiet sense of anger. Or they're like to the boiling point where they have outbursts against these police officers, and I don't blame them. It had the same effect that the ending of Black Klansman and Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing had on me. Where like your teeth and your hands are clenched because you're so angry, but also like you're just as much you're in this heat as the characters. Like, yes, like I am not a person of color, so I will never know like the struggle of somebody who goes through discrimination and stuff like that. But to put the viewer in a headspace like that, and to have like characters go through this shit, it's put it in the audience being put in their shoes is very like, I wouldn't say enlightening. I just think it's a great way of depicting like a attitude or a perspective that you're not used to seeing. And I highly recommend it. It's probably one of the most underrated movies of the 2010s, or underseen. I don't even know about underrated. It got really great reviews from critics. But yeah, a terrific movie, and it really captures heat well. Hopefully I'm giving you enough time to look it up, because I don't think either of you have seen it or heard of it.
No, I
have
have.
You've seen it?
I've heard of
Fucker.
it.
You have?
Oh, I haven't seen. I've heard of it.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
fucker. Still a fucker. How dare you question my knowledge?
Well, you said I've seen it, so really?
It's the heat. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Chris, go.
Okay. So yeah, Brant, I'm actually really like amazed, like, cause like these first two picks of yours have been like it's been like what's it, almost like political heat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting. I love that take because none of my films, I didn't even think of that in terms of how I approached mine. But I really like that, and I think that's really interesting. I've heard of Detroit before, and like I don't have much, if any, knowledge about what transpired at the time, just because I'm not an American. I'm blah 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 blah. The list goes on. There's a billion reasons why I haven't like bumped into this, but it is an interesting piece of like American history because I have heard of like I know like Detroit as is Detroit a city?
Yes.
Detroit's a city,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yes.
Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah. So I've heard like Detroit is like is a place in the United States that has been through a lot of shit in their time. Frankly, I don't know much, if anything, about like what brought that about, but given the current political climate of the U.S., you can probably make pretty easy assumptions about what it is, and you're probably right. But then again, I don't know the nuances or anything like that. But I am definitely curious. This is a piece of like like contemporary American history that I haven't really, dived my hands into before. Just that letterbox like header picture alone is very provocative,
Yeah.
and I dig that. And I think I've seen a couple of Catherine Bigelow films before, and I know she's not a person of color, but I do think she's given her track record of like the kinds of films she's made and the way her sensibility and her approach, I do think her directing style may very well lend well to this.
It does.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I am very interested to see this. I've already added it to my watch list.
Yeah. It seems like I think it was a very under the radar film when it came out because I only remember people like critics really talking about it. Nobody went to go see it, so I think underviewed is the right term for it, Brandon. Because I wouldn't say underrated because I don't know. It didn't even get Oscar love, did it?
No, it didn't even get a single
No.
nomination. I remember it was like
because I remember it came out in the summer, right?
yeah, it was like a August movie, I think. It was one of my favorites from the year. Like you can go back at my 2017 list, but it was the year before.
Yeah.
It was like literally a few months before we went to college. Think about that.
So weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta check it out.
I remember hearing about this movie, but I have this bad habit of like every now and then I'll confuse like two actors with each other or two movies with each other or something. For some reason, I kept confusing this movie and Patriots Day with each other.
I haven't seen Patriots Day, but I own it. I own
That's
both
with
this.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Mark Wahlberg like a Boston Marathon
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, good pick, Brandon. I like this one.
Yeah, good pick. All right, Chris, what's your number 2?
All right. So I alluded to this idea briefly in my pick for Fire of Love. This whole idea of like the passion between people being what drove my choice of film. And so I drove me towards selecting this film, and also on the advice and approval of Angelica. Shout out to Angelica, by the way.
Hey.
I'm picking a movie by a filmmaker who is very near and dear to my heart. A film that I admittedly haven't seen in a couple of years, but has definitely stuck with me since then. Ethan, supposedly you are also a bigger fan of this movie than I am, even though I love this movie. I'm picking Wong Kar-wai's 1995 film Fallen Angels.
Yo. All right.
Okay. Now, I know that sounds a little odd for a stack about hot movies, but let me get into this. So, this is a very dense movie on like a formal and narrative level. There's a lot going on. It's one of those movies, Wong's 90s movies have a very like distinct like kinetic feel to them. And especially in comparison to like his more like down to earth, throw caution to the wind kind of attitude that his movies tend to instill within themselves. But what I really want to talk about in terms of why I picked this movie is imagery and tone. Like even if you don't like Wong Kar-wai's movies, you can't lie that the dude's got a sense for style and vibe. And it's born out of Hong Kong, so of course I have a very specific connection to it. That even even the atmosphere of this film, and it's really hard for me to describe. But the best way I can put it into words is like there's something about this neon lit 3 a.m. haze that comes through in the underworld of Hong Kong in the after hours. That really brings out like this kind of emotive feeling that I can't really associate with anything else. It has this very dizzying beauty to it. Images in this film are very much textured out of mood and feeling and emotion rather than like any kind of conventional sense of what lighting and composition is in general. So Wong's approach to romance continues forward here. You know, you have that melancholic feeling that he is just obsessed with, like that fleeting thing, like love being that fleeting thing that cannot be owned or possessed. It's like, you know, and he dissects love. You know, we can analyze Wong Kar-wai's dissection of love for hours, like the way he describes it as something that happens in the shadows and like it being something that happens in the moments between moments. But what I'm really trying to get at here is like it's that endless feeling of longing into melancholia that like really does drive this movie alongside Wong's many 90s movies. And I think that's why I decided to put this in for hot movies, because I think the passion of this movie between the characters, but also the fury of the criminal underworld that we get to see here. It's a movie that has so much like tangible authenticity to it, and it's very expressive. And yeah, I think like just like all of the like there's so much going on here on like an oral and visual level that it's just so many things going on that the like everything from the criminal underworld to the passion between the characters is just that's just hot. I don't know how to say it better than that. Ethan, I don't know if you would agree with me on that, like in terms of like Fallen Angels falling under the hot category, but I think just based on like what I said, I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
I would say if I were to pick a hot Wong Kar-wai movie, I think I would put Chungking over this one.
It does have more of a summer vibe to it.
It is more of a summer vibe, but I get like, I don't know. It's a stuffy ass movie. You know what I mean? It's like these characters are confined into these streets and like these humid rooms within Hong Kong's like nightlife, you know? And I think this movie's very much, I'm going to go into this more in my next pick, but it's like hot-minded, if that makes any sense.
I think I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like just like these characters are also very lost and cluttered, you know, and sort of, and you sort of feel that Wong Kar-wai sort of depicts that through its bifractured narrative, you know, where we're following these two different storylines, and I think both of them come together very beautifully at the end. You know, I adore this film. I think I used this for our 90s episode as one of the best 90s movies I've ever seen. You know, I think it's just like what Wong Kar-wai does with the lights, how he uses space in this movie, how he uses narrative, how these characters are depicted. I can totally see how you can choose this as a hot movie. Yeah, I'm down. I'm killing it. I'm chilling with it. Brandon, have you seen this movie yet?
No,
bro.
I have not.
Bro, what are you doing?
I have plenty of movies that I'm watching. I just haven't watched it.
You're watching like Best Picture noms that nobody's like talked about in like 40 years.
Exactly. Why have they? That's why I want to watch them, because they haven't been unearthed. What if I'm the one to unearth them?
Probably because they suck.
Not necessarily. There's Norma Ray.
Norma Ray. Everyone talks about Norma Ray.
Okay, have you seen it?
Can't get people to shut up about Norma Ray.
Oh, really? Why are you so upset about it? May I repeat what you?
It's a fantasy movie. Brandon's like, he's like, Ethan, want to watch a fantasy movie together? And I just saw the DVD copy of Norma Ray on the coffee table. I'm like, what, Norma Ray? That's a fantasy movie?
We were laughing.
Anyways, what do you think about Fallen
Angels?
Angels?
I don't know anything
You were
about the
laughing
movie.
and giggling,
I
kicking
have
your feet up.
I have no idea what this movie is about even, so I can't even comment. Other than
How do you even describe it?
I'm sure it's like
I don't even know how to describe this movie.
I'm sure it's like romantic with the
it's
like
it's a lot like chunking on like a structure level because there's the two stories again. There's one that's more crime oriented and one that's more like lost souls falling in love, yada yada. You know
the
the chunking
passion, the
vibe.
lost midlife crisis.
It's the passion, the lost souls. You know
You want to hear my favorite review for this?
what?
On Letterboxd, it's never before has a film so eloquently captured the feeling of driving to McDonald's at 3 a.m.
That's true. Very true. It's a very specific feeling.
Yeah, very specific feeling, and I feel like that film captures.
You know what would hit the
All
spot
good
right
pick,
now?
Chris. What?
McDonald's
What?
Sprite.
Ooh, ooh, that's got a kick to it. That's got a little heat, you know. Ooh, save me the pussy. I want the hoe. Oh,
How'd you get her up there, man?
how'd you do that, man? With the legs? Oh. For those of you unaware, probably most of you, probably all of you, go watch They Came Together. Great film. Paul Rudd, Amy Poehler. Anyways, all right, Fallen Angels. That's your second pick. My second pick. It is one of the best R-rated movies to sneak off to with your friends. It is, Millhouse would chant this over and over.
No. You are really.
I'm picking it. Barton
Oh my God.
Fink. Barton
Fink.
Barton Fink. I'm picking Barton Fink.
Do we need to describe to the audience what the fuck that was?
Yeah,
With the
you
Millhouse thing?
describe it.
Okay.
Describe the bit.
So, okay, it's a really small bit. You can search it up on YouTube if you want. Just search up Simpsons Barton Fink. So there's an episode of Simpsons where Bart is just chilling and he's got something to go do, but he doesn't want to go do it. And his friends pull up in a pickup truck and they're like, "Hey Bart, get in. We're gonna go sneak into an R-rated movie." And then they're like, "It's called Barton Fink." And then Bart's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I can't. I got stuff to do." And then the kids drive off into the distance going, "Barton Fink! Barton Fink!" All right, go on. Tell us about Barton Fink.
Because this is not a movie kids would sneak off to go see.
Yeah, it's not like Ted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like Ted or like Hot Tub Time Machine or something like that.
Yeah.
It's Barton Fink. What is this movie about, and why am I picking it as a hot movie? This sort of goes into the hot-mindedness that I was talking about earlier, where we follow this screenwriter during like golden age of Hollywood. During a really hot summer, he's put in this room. He's a New York playwright, and he's been tasked to write a movie. And he's a very scatterbrained, nervous personality, played so excellently by John Turturro. And this movie just radiates I feel like the heat and like the scatteredness of his own mind is reflected in the world that he sees around him when he interacts with like his neighbor John Goodman, and just like everything that goes on. It's a very it's a very like metaphysical narrative where he's trying to achieve writing the script and navigating Hollywood as someone from New York. It's a very like foreign place, and I haven't seen it in a while, I have to admit, but like for a Coen Brothers movie, it feels very Lynchian. It feels a lot like an Eraserhead or mixed with like a Mulholland Drive to me. But the heat in this movie is insane. There's a scene where like the apartment complex starts to light on fire. Every character is sweating throughout the movie in this hot LA summer as they're trying to like write scripts, make this movie, network in the business, and it's a great story about how just chaotic the film industry can be. It reminds me a lot of like, it's more of like a surrealist version of The Player, I would say. Brandon, he heard, The Player perked up a bit. Have any of you guys seen Barton Fink?
No.
Anybody?
No. No, I
No?
haven't. Like, cause I won't lie, it looks like okay. I'm sure it's not, but it looks boring.
Is it because it's black and white, Chris? Chris, you're
It's
Chris.
not,
it's
it's
just-
not even
It's
black
not
and
black
white.
and
Is
white.
it?
No.
No,
I thought it was always black and white.
but I don't know. It's just,
I always mistake this movie.
like
and
I don't know
Ed
this
Wood.
like okay like anyone at home just search up Barton Fink on Letterboxd. Tell me this is like thrilling.
It's a poster.
Just some bloke just staring off into the distance. Give me
Chris,
Yeah,
it's a
something.
poster.
he's funny. No, and there's a mosquito on his head, and it's like, it's reflecting his like cracked head. He's scatterbrained. I don't know. It's interesting. You should check it out. I don't know if you guys are. Chris, it's you've seen Lebowski. I think they tap into the absurdity of Lebowski.
It's a
a
Coen
bit of
Brothers
a higher,
movie.
more intense. Yeah,
You like the
it's
color.
it's intense. I'm surprised you haven't seen it, Brandon. Why haven't you seen Bart?
I don't know. Another movie that there's a plenty of movies that for me I've just like put off seeing forever. One of those is Scarface. One of those is Barton Fink. I feel like classic movies that some people.
Opposite ends of the same coin.
Everybody's supposed to have their blind spots throughout their life. Maybe mine is Barton Fink. Your dad refuses to watch Titanic. I refuse to watch Barton Fink.
What? Why do you refuse to watch Barton Fink?
I don't know. I will watch Barton Fink when your dad watches Titanic. That's what I'll do.
Okay. Whatever. I don't care. Alright, let's get into this final round, shall we? Brandon,
Yeah. What about it?
what's your last movie?
We've
movie?
actually okay, so we've all seen this movie. I feel like this whole fucking time, except for Fire of Love, everybody hasn't seen the movies of the other people, but we've all seen this movie because I showed it to you. I
That's
introduced
true.
it to you guys. I am picking
Shut up, man.
1988's Miracle Mile.
Oh, that's a good choice.
And
Jesus,
Ethan,
you are throwing out good ones.
Ethan, I know for a fact you want to choose this movie because of what you did today. You went to the Brea fucking tar pits, and they're in this
I
movie.
drove down Miracle Mile.
Yes.
I drove down it.
Yes,
It's an actual road.
it
I didn't
is.
know it actually was an actual road.
Yes, it's an LA quintessential LA movie about, a nuclear event happening or potentially happening and everybody being stressed out. So this is another political pick. So it's not war. It kind of is war, but it's kind of not. It's paranoia. And yeah, I think it's a great movie of depicting the stress of an environment and feeling like the heat of nuclear disaster, the heat of the Brea tar pits. The heat of falling in love with somebody and the passion of running away with them, and then it's not to make it any better, but it takes place in LA, which is very, very close to home for us right now, especially going through this heat wave. So yeah, it's good.
Yes. Yeah, as someone who has just experienced the heat wave and gone to the La Brea tar pits, one of the worst things you can do during a heat wave is like, here, I'm gonna go to this puddle of hot tar and smell this hot tar, and during when it's 105 degrees outside. I was hating it when I was I wanted to be one of those mastodons. I wanted to jump into that pit and be like, I was
That's
like, let's go
good.
for a fucking swim, bro.
I like that.
Yeah, this movie fucking rules.
Underrated, underseen.
Incredibly underrated, underseen. This movie's so underrated and little that the director of this movie started commenting on our reviews on Letterboxd. Remember that?
I'm friends with him
He
on
was like, follow me
Facebook.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon's friends with him on fucking Facebook. Why has this guy not made more movies like this that are amazing? What's this bloke's name? Sorry, he's not
Steve
a bloke.
Desjardins.
I call everybody a bloke if he's listening. Steve Desjardins, make more awesome movies like Miracle Mile. Yeah, dude. Like, come on. It's uncut gems.
After
Hours. Not stacked After
Good
Hours.
time.
You fucking idiots. After Hours. Martin Scorsese's After Hours. You idiot listeners.
Equally as
Stupid. Sorry.
Equally as
See,
good.
I'm getting
Equally-
heated because of this heat.
No, you're fine.
Equally as good. Equally as good. Listen to the Onion Ring episode. Equally as good. All right. Hey, they're both good. Anyways, Miracle Mile. is up there with those three movies. I would do like a triple feature of those, and it's just like just taking you through this dude's. It's a stream of conscious movie, I would say. Where just like the carpet just unfurls.
Because it starts out as like a cute romance in the LA summer.
Yeah. And then once the dude thinks that the nuclear bombs are coming, he's just like, you just go through like what his plan is. You never leave the characters alone. Which is just so fun to watch. It's so thrilling and enthralling. I adore this movie. I was so happy when you showed it to us. Yeah. If you haven't seen Miracle Mile, guys, please treat yourself to it. It's an amazing movie. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely 4 stars isn't nearly the word for cold, but between the three of us, I am the colder one to this movie. Things I admire, I really like the performances. The world building's really interesting. I like the themes of this movie in terms of like, I really loved what stuck with me about this movie most is like the way in which it depicts like how humans like actively, regardless of the odds, like will always try and pursue like this kind of impossible ideal of what could happen. Because regardless of whether or not like this guy, like he knows nuclear apocalypse is coming, but he's still trying to make it out somehow. And I like that he meets this girl and they, and all that stuff. I think it's really like there's a real humanity to this movie, which I find really interesting I find it real interesting to see that in a movie that it is kind of like orchestrated as like a real time experience movie. It's kind of like Good Time or 1917 or After Hours, like you guys said. And like I really admire that about this movie. I suppose like the thing that lost it that 1 star that would have made this a 5 is and maybe this is just my personal inclinations like making me want this for this movie, even though it might not necessarily be required, but I didn't feel myself emotionally gripped by this movie, but I felt myself very like physically like enraptured by it, if that makes sense. But like I didn't find myself like heart aching for this person. But nonetheless, I really admire this movie. I think it's a really good apocalypse film, but also just like a generally like really good like real-time event movie, which I feel like is something that we have taken kind of a liking to, because I feel like that's really unique. A lot of movies jump across within like maybe a week's worth of time or a month's worth of time or years even. But the fact that this movie kind of is so self-contained in that moment-to-moment thing, I think that works really well, especially for a movie like
It's
this.
just, and it's heat, like it's hot too, right, guys?
Yeah, it's really hot. This movie's really
like all the characters are
especially
always
ending.
sweating. Like remember when he's in the diner and he's like freaking out, like his hair becomes disheveled throughout the day. He's running through LA traffic. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It goes crazy, man. It's awesome. Go check out this movie. Good pick, Brandon. Chris, what's your last pick?
All right. I had my first 2 films depicted hot in a pretty positive way, in at least in the way that I analyzed it. But I think I wanted to dive into hot in a more negative sense for my final pick. Ethan, we watched this movie for our horror class a few years ago. We recommended it to Brandon. Brandon liked it just as much as we did.
I actually saw this movie.
I'm picking a French movie directed by Coralie Fargiat. I apologize for that. In 2017, I'm picking Revenge.
This is pretty good.
Dude.
It's in the desert, right?
So, yes, it is set in the desert. That's a big part of it. Okay, this is the director's big directorial debut, which, by the way, really impressive directorial debut. This is crazy for a first-time film. She really came out swinging with it. This has become, at least in my eyes, one of the most powerful feminist revenge films I've ever seen. I recently actually watched Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, and these 2 movies go hand in hand beautifully with each other. I don't want to give away too much of the plot of this film because I think for anyone listening that might be interested, this film is really something that should be seen with pretty minimal context outside of the actual viewing experience. But what I will say is, so this movie takes place in the desert, and the way this film is shot really makes you feel not only the heat of the locale, but also the brutality of the plot. It's a film with a lot of emotion, but not the kind that I've talked about in my previous picks, but I'm talking like anger, hatred, fury. Like the film doesn't hold back at all and does a fantastic job of playing with audience expectations and making this a really engrossing film experience. A standout component of this film for me is the way it tackles perspective and our like kind of like societal complicity with enabling these terrible things to happen painfully regularly. And it like and the fact that like oftentimes these tragic things are sensationalized and objectified in our media, turning trauma and suffering into a commodity, a la Nope. You know what I'm saying, Ethan?
Yes, I know what you're saying.
But eventually, the film strips the characters down to this very like animalistic form. Where men are all too often depicted as like these brutes, and women tend to be depicted as fragile. This film really takes those preconceived notions and flips them on their head. Hunter becomes the hunted in this movie, and it's just fantastic. Yeah, and I just think it's a great film and really fitting for the hot film problem that we have today, because it's everyone's so sweaty. Like throughout the entire movie, I'm like, this person needs to take a shower. Like, please take a shower.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in the end where a character jumps in the pool, and I'm like, that looks like the most refreshing thing on this planet. Okay, yeah, Revenge. Both of you have seen this movie,
Yes.
but I'll hand it to Ethan first because you saw it with me in the theater. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, seeing this on the big screen was awesome. I was immediately impressed just how this dude played with budget. You know, like he probably just needed permits for most of the movie, and then just probably like pure spaced a house. You know, like there's a house and then there's the desert, and that's it. And he's just able to make this completely enthralling action piece. I'm reading through my old review just to like familiarize myself with it because I haven't seen it for 2 years. Our professor said that there's only 17 pages of dialogue within this 2-hour film, and just how they're able to like show off just this story of revenge. I'm not, like Chris said, I don't want to go into what that revenge is. You know, it's so cool. I wouldn't. I don't. So recently, I made my list of top 50 horror movies, and this would be. I don't really consider this horror. I mean, you know,
It's more like a thriller.
it's like
thriller?
an action thriller.
Action
revenge
thriller, yeah.
You know, like I think the horror elements we watched it for was like the gore. You know, because I think
Yeah.
that's a big part of horror for people, because there is some brutal gore in this movie. And yeah, the heat of the desert, just how rough they are, you know, and how they beat themselves up and like get injured, but still, like the main character, she still has to go on, keep going, you know. It's crazy. Definitely a good watch for people if you want this. If you're into these kind of genres, go check it out. Brandon, what do you think?
I think it's a very dirty movie in terms of its content,
Very dirty.
in terms of how dirty the
I think you
protagonist
should watch
and the
this one.
villains get.
It's a dirty movie.
And I think it's a really good movie at depicting all of that. I really enjoy the revenge element, setting it in a desert and making the character go through what they go through, and until like their desperation takes like complete hold of them, is amazing. Because you never see a character hero journey like this. Like, go through hell. Because usually character journeys, they go through struggles, but they don't go through hell, you know? In this one, they do.
Yeah.
And part of that is due to the heat of, like, where the setting is. And part of that is to the brutality of the environment that heat provides. And part of that is due to the people who are pursuing this person. And it's great. So, I really like it.
Cool.
Good pick, Chris. All right. last film we're talking about today. It's from me. I'm also going into the desert. The heat of the desert. This is a movie about, fighting for water. So I think that goes into the desperation of the heat, thirst.
I already know what it is.
What?
I already think I know what it is.
Really?
Yep.
It's a 2011 movie.
Never mind. I changed my mind.
It's an animated film.
Huh? Dougal?
It's a Western.
Oh.
Rango.
Rango?
I'm picking Rango.
My dad's friend worked on this movie.
Wow, okay.
I think this movie is awesome. I think Rango's great.
It's alright.
Gore Verbinski, coming off the Pirates movies, he decided to do, teamed up with Johnny Depp to do Rango. I think this movie is a very well animated film that sort of captures the madness of heat and no water. It's a very rustic film, fish out of water story about Rango, this chameleon who's like a
Camilla.
it's kind of like flushed away. He's a privileged pet who thinks he's an actor, and then he gets tossed out of the car and put into the desert, and now he has to be the hero of this town because he pretends to be someone he's not. And like the Western elements are very, I feel like, hot and rustic and dry. The character designs are very freakish, I would say. I think that goes into like the madness of the heat. Just looking at how freakish these lizards and owls and and everything. Shout out to Spoons, my favorite character from Rango, the dude who plays the Spoons Rango. I don't know. I just remember having a good time with this movie. I saw it. I remember I saw this at an AMC theaters in Las Vegas for the first time, and then they show Las Vegas in the movie because they're like, oh, that's where all the water's going to. It's all being diverted to Las Vegas. And Las Vegas, one of the hottest cities I've ever been to. If you've ever been there, like, when it's hot, it gets windy, and the wind is hot, so you think you're going to be, like, cooled off by the breeze, but the breeze is just hot and brutal. It's awful.
That's amazing. I love it.
No, why would you want hot wind?
Because it reminds me of home.
No. Go home. Then go home, then. Just kidding. No, come back here. No, come back. Oh, here he goes. He's going home. Oh, he's got the knapsack over his shoulder. Bye, Brandon. All right, maybe he'll come back from his home by the end of the episode. But Rango. Oh, he's bringing his water, his room temperature water. He's drinking. That it's cold and refreshing, even though it's room temperature because it's so hot here. Chris, what do you think of Rango?
I haven't seen this movie in years. Frankly, I remember basically nothing about this movie. I think I saw this movie like when I was like 13 and then never again. I honestly don't really know what to say. I haven't like revisited this movie in years. I do think Rango is a very well animated movie. I do think the animation is actually held up pretty well, at least as far as I can see. I'm not an animator. But I guess one piece of trivia I will share is, can you guess who was a visual consultant on this film?
Deakins?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deakins gets around a lot for some reason. Like he likes animated movies from time to time.
He likes animation because he did How to Train Your Dragon. And this movie is shot very cool. So I'm all here for it.
I bet he I bet he talked to the animators about like composition and all that shit as well, on top of like talking about lighting and how to make things look proper or whatever. But yeah, I honestly don't know what to say about this movie, but they have a very, very, very stacked cast actually. Now that I'm looking at this, good stacked cast. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about it.
I think this movie just like it's able to show, when you see the desert and you see like it's like the air is moving and sizzling in the background,
That's a real thing that happens.
I know, and they animate that very well. It's very cool.
It's a pretty hot movie.
That's why I chose it as hot movie.
It's very desolate.
Yeah.
Like there isn't a lot to the environment. It feels like it's dead, which is great for what we're going for. I don't love Rango personally. I don't. Maybe I need to rewatch it because like I'm in the same boat as Chris. I haven't watched it since it came out. I think it looks great. I don't think it is great. I think a movie that does this well is A Bug's Life.
Oh, Boog's Life.
Bug's Life does the same story.
It's true, very similar.
But Bug's Life came first. And Flushed Away. I liked Flushed Away a lot. Hugh Jackman, Kate Winslet. Come on.
Come on, bro.
Or no, not Kate Winslet. Emily Blunt. Wait, who does her?
Emily Blingus.
Is it Emily Blunt or Kate Winslet in Flushed Away?
I think it's Kate Winslet.
Is it?
You're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Whatever. We're talking about Rango. Talk about Rango.
No, we're talking about Flushed Away now.
Okay.
I can't open this. It's fine. Okay, well.
All right. Well, that's it. That's it.
All right, that's our
we're done.
stack.
We're talking about these movies. That's our stack. We're just gonna pick them all.
It's too fucking hot in here.
It's too fucking hot
Oh.
here. We're melting alive. Let's run down our movies. Brandon, go run them down.
All
What's
right,
your movie?
I did Miracle Mile. I did Born on the
Okay.
4th of
No.
July,
Not
and I
in
did
order.
Detroit.
Fuck you. Not in order. Chris, what are yours?
I did Fire of Love, Fallen Angels, and Revenge.
All right, and I did Fire of Love as well. Double stack. Barton Fink, and Rango. So, Fire of Love, it's on it. It's already on the
We
list.
know Fire of Love. I want to put Detroit on this. I like a political one for this as well. Because I like that. I like using that as a springboard for political
Gotta say,
stuff.
not
I think
what
that's
I
really
expected,
interesting.
but I'll take it.
All right. Detroit, I could vibe with it. You know.
Well, what's our third? What would companion those
your
two?
third. Rango.
We don't have animation. We could throw in
And
an
not only
animation.
that, Rango is a western.
True. Yeah, it's a western.
Fire of Love is a
Yeah.
documentary,
We could.
and then
Or I would say
we have a-
I would say either Rango or Revenge because those are their two desert. What are we thinking, folks?
I'd be happy with either because I'm even happy to just save
for
revenge
revenge movies.
for a different time
For
because I
revenge
feel like that
movies.
can revenge brutality movies. I don't know, like
Let's
whatever that
put
comes
Rango
out.
because I don't think we're ever gonna talk about Rango ever again.
I agree. Let's do it. I'm down. Let's do it.
Okay. How should we construct this stack? Huh?
I think Rango starts because I think that's the most accessible. It takes the hot thing really literally.
Yeah.
So I think that's our entry point. From there, I think we move into Fire of Love because Doc, I think, like can bring it. Actually, well,
No, I'm gonna say Detroit, then Fire of Love, because I feel like Fire of Love is like such an I don't know overarching thing of heat. It's very metaphysical, you know, in terms of
True.
talking about hotness.
yeah, I imagine I haven't seen the movie, but I imagine Detroit is not the world's most pleasurable, and it doesn't have the world's most pleasurable ending.
You'd be right.
Brandon's making a face, so I assume I was correct.
What do you
by
think about
saying that.
Leroy Jenkins?
Leroy Jenkins.
I'm gonna take that as he's agreeing with you.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
do agree.
let's
I
run
was
down this-
nodding. I was nodding.
Let's run down
Let's run
this
it down.
fucking stack.
Wait,
'cause
what's
it's
the
a lot
order?
in here.
Sorry, what's the order?
Rango, Detroit, Fire of Love.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with this is Stack's 2022 Hot Movies triple feature, starting with Gore Verbinski's Rango, movie about dang old, he's a lizard and he's in the hot desert and he thinks he's cool and he shoots him up. Rango, he's a cowboy movie. It's a cowboy movie. And it's hot. It's hot in the desert. Need water. You need water, but Las Vegas is taking all the water. So what do? You become Rango. That's what you do. Brandon took all the water, so now I gotta become a Rango. All right, Brandon. What's our second pick?
Our second pick is Detroit, a political race story that is stressful, hot, sweaty, confined. Quite honestly, a great depiction of the problems facing Black Americans in America. Detroit. Check it out. Underseen.
Chris, wrap it up for us.
All right, and our final film is Saradosa's 2022 documentary Fire of Love, a film detailing the lives and work of, oh gosh, I already forgot their names. Where's their names? Where are they? Katia and Maurice Croft. I apologize for forgetting that. Two volcanologists who dedicated their lives to their craft and have given our world some of the most incredible footage as well as research on the scientific study of volcanoes, one of the hottest things that you can ever find on our planet.
Literally the hottest thing.
Other than
Besides
me.
the Earth's core. Oh, damn. He talked a lot of game, but I think he's right this time, ladies and gentlemen. Look at him. Oh, damn. Look at that. Hey, Brandon, save me the pussy. I want the whole of that Winchester right now. All right,
guys.
Guys,
I'm a
leave in the comments
pass.
below how hot you think Brandon is. Give him a 1 out of 10 rating.
Oh shit.
We'll see you next time
This
on
is
Stats.
this is gonna be great for my
right.
self-esteem.
Stay hydrated, everybody.
Stay hydrated. Hopefully things are colder by when this episode comes out, because we're losing our damn minds. So
All right, we're gonna go
Bye.
watch a movie.
we're going to
Bye.
Bye. Brandon, say something epic.